This is the fame farming tier list. Now, I want to just mention that this fame farming tier list is based purely for solo guildless players. I don't mean players that own their own guild. I mean players that don't have friends to play with. They don't do the Avalonian raids. They don't do the world bosses, obviously. They can't do hardcore expeditions because all of those are technically better fame farms. But this is for solo players because 80% of people that play Albion Online are solo players, including myself. Let's get into it. Here is what we'll be looking at for the tier list, and this video, unlike other tier lists with a stupid infographic where you drag and drop objects onto an image, we are going to go from S rank to F rank, because we're starting with the best, because that's why most people are here watching this video. They want to know what the best fame farm is, and they want to know why it's the best. So one thing that I hate when I watch tier lists on YouTube is that I have to click around on the video until I find all the S rank stuff, and then if I'm still curious, I'll look at the A rank and then maybe the F rank, and I'll skip like the B and C rank. But I will have those for you guys as well, with the full descriptors of what they are and why they are in those ranks. Let's just get right into it. Starting off, we have the triple S tier. This would be considered God tier. This is absolute truest, beyond the beyond, gonna get nerfed someday tier. It is tier 4 static dungeons as a solo. This makes you over 20 million fame per hour, especially if you're using 8.4 gear for the speedy clear. Because it's in a tier 4 blue zone, you can go with your maximum possible gear, and there's no risk. There is zero risk. You cannot die. You cannot lose your loot in a blue zone. And also, this is one of the faster ways to farm faction points in the entire game, which I didn't list on the screen. But that also earns more fame through the faction rewards. It is so good that there is a team of Redditors who are possibly working for a marketing agency that tried to deny that this method exists, that try to gaslight new players into believing that it's false info, that it's not real, even though I have countless videos showing that it's real. One of the reasons this is so dang good is you don't technically need max gear or max specs to do. You will have to use a bunch of defensives if you're semi-new. You will need a decent pair of gear, though, to be able to pull it off. But once you have the maximum specs and the 8.4 gear, you don't need any defensives at all. You can just run in with full offensive gear, nuke down wave after wave. Also, this is far better than tier 5 static zones simply because the tier 4 zones have a higher mob density. You can also pull more, that means you can pull more at a time, and you can nuke them down super fast. Where in the tier 5 zones, you're not pulling as many mobs at once, and there just isn't as many mobs at one time to pull due to the mobs difference. The tier 4 is undead, and the tier 5 are the keeper. Here's a video that I've made that explains and shows this off. I've made countless videos over the years where I've just refined and gotten it better and better and better. So here is the video. It is titled Farming 20 Million Fame Per Hour in Albion Online. This is the thumbnail. It's a nice blue one, blue zone 20 million fame per hour method. This is the data on the screen right here. So this is a complete uncut 30-minute recording of me fame farming the blue zone dungeons. No edits, no speed ups, no clips, no, editing at all, and it shows the before and the after of my combat fame credits. And for those that don't know, if you're brand new, whenever you have maximum spec, you'll earn these combat fame credits, and whenever you want to spend combat fame credits, the lowest possible conversion rate is in weapons. So here, if I were to level this pike from level 1 to level 2, it's going to cost 22,792 combat fame credits, which when you multiply that by 2 is 45,585 fame. Therefore, if I farm 10 million combat fame credits in 1 hour in a tier 4 blue zone static dungeon, that is worth 20 million fame. And some people might try to argue, well, if I go to a tier 8 black zone and use an 8.4 satchel and 8.4 gear, I could outfarm that, so it's not the best. Except here's the problem. You're saying, as a guildless solo player, you can't go to a black zone with that kind of gear. You will die. You will get murdered and you will lose it. Whereas there is zero risk in the blue zone. That's why it's not being covered. There is no player in the entire game, unless they are a turbo streamer or YouTuber with a massive giving fan base, that will donate them this gear constantly as they die. just pull up any of the top PvP streamers that are all they do is PvP all day. Like, if you go here to the rankings page and you look at, let's see, like PvP fame of all time. Okay, it's Juan, of course. If you go look at his murder ledger, he is losing more in gear than he is gaining because he's using full 8.4 gear. He has to kill hundreds of players to even break even with that. And you're not going to do that when you're fame farming in a black zone by yourself without some sort of pay pigs that'll just donate you tons and tons of money and gear and loot so you can keep doing it over and over again. You're just not. Next up is open world mob farming. Now, I put yellow zone here. You don't have to do it in yellow zone. However, once you have high tier gear and a fast mount, it is actually way more efficient due to being able to faction flag up. I have also proved this in a video compared to black zone for solo guildless players. Of course, if you're in a guild and you are, you have lots of friends and you own a hideout, then yeah, go farm tier 8 mobs to your heart's content with Gucci gear. That's totally fine. Otherwise, for everyone else out there, for the 80% of us that don't want to bend the knee to guilds, we have to fame farm in the yellow zone. And it's really not that bad. Now, I want to show you another video. This one right here, made not too long ago. This one is called Why Black Zone Fame Farming Sucks, and it's this is the thumbnail proving the best fame farm. And in this video, I show off how much fame you get when you kill mobs in a tier 6 black zone, tier 7 black zone, tier 8 black zone, a tier 8 legendary mists, tier 8 legendary dungeons. I show how much fame each mob gives when you kill it, how long it takes to kill them, and so on and so forth and stuff like that. And so, when you compare it to the fame that you earn in the yellow zone, it's not that much more for the insane amount of risk and travel time, and the fact that when you're in the black zones, you can't use 8.4 gear to one-shot them. When you're in a yellow zone open world mob farming, you are able to one-shot almost everything but bosses, and bosses you can kill in just a few seconds once you become geared. This is one of the best and most recommended ways for new players, brand new to the game, to fame up their weapons, armor, equipment, so that they can begin to PvP. Next up, we have faction fighting. That is when you flag up for one of the factions, not Caerleon. We're not talking about flagging up for Caerleon. That's a whole different ballgame. And just running around, yes, again, the yellow and blue zones, and just capping outposts, downing players, and so on and so forth. You can make over 1 million fame per hour just from fame tomes. And this is an amazing and great resource for anybody that wants to, level up a new character. I was able to willy-nilly get 100 mastery on a character on East in just a few days of just messing about with faction fighting. It wasn't even my intent, it just happened. It's that good. And what I'm talking about are these fame tomes right here. You will average, for every 9,000 faction points, 250,000 in tomes of insight. So this Elder's Tome of Insight is worth 200,000 fame. This tier 7 one is 100,000, and then the orange is 50,000. So you're going to average one of these white ones and one of these orange ones every single 9,000 points, and you can farm up to like 36,000 points pretty much an hour if you just constantly PvP, capture points down players. If you go to Bandit event and you're in Bridgewatch, then you will get even more points as long as you're active for the full hour. And then at the end of every week, you get a bonus to your faction warfare points, and that's another 5 to 6 to 20 chests, depending on how much you played that week. And that is just more and more and more and more fame. It is, if you're too bored with open world mob farming, then do this. But you know what the real secret is? While you're faction fighting, kill open world mobs in between outposts and between fights. That's all there is to it. Just combine both of those if you're a new player, and you're all set. You'll have 100 mastery. You can equip your tier 8 weapons on your second day if you're really dedicated, on your first day. I'm not even joking. For B tier, it's card swiping. Card swiping is not S tier like in the silver video. This one is really bad because of the price conversion. 100 US dollars will buy you enough gold to buy you enough silver to buy you enough tomes of insight to only max out 1.35 weapon specializations. Alright, this is about 50.277 million fame in fame tomes. Now, I will mention that this is not factoring in auto-respec calculations from mastery and all that kind of fun stuff. This is just if you just want to max a weapon spec. Now, if you use the triple S tier method of farming tier 4 static zones, you can spend maybe 17 million silver and have it done in under 2 hours. Alright, so if you can farm 100 US dollars in under 2 hours in the real world, then technically this is better than the triple S method, but it's definitely more expensive from just about 99.9% of everyone probably watching this channel. Moving on to C tier, we have Corrupted Dungeons. Corrupted Dungeons are not good for fame farming, even if you're in Slayer. The only time that they used to be really, really good for fame farming is before the open world patch, but even then, that was only for, like, the top, like, 1% of players that managed to have multiple millions worth of infamy. And even then, you have to, like, hold, you know, that position. If you start dying to other players, you're gonna rapidly lose that bonus. But even then, the reason Corrupted Dungeons are C tier is because you cannot speedrun them, you cannot overpower them with, you know, just having higher specialization or better gear. Now, okay, the exception is Slayer Corrupted Dungeons. The world record for clearing a Corrupted Dungeon is around 3 minutes and 20 seconds or 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I forget exactly how much it is. But yes, if you can speedrun it that quickly, you're slightly on par with just solo dungeons. But you could speed clear a solo dungeon in 1 minute 45 seconds, and you kill more mobs, and you also earn faction points, which at the end of the day does make it actually technically kind of better than Corrupted Dungeons. But the reason why I'm listing regular dungeons later is, I'll tell you. But no, Corrupted Dungeons, they're okay for loot, and they're not the worst for fame, but they're still pretty bad compared to everything else that I've said so far. And finally, we have F tier. Now, I know some people, they see the Ava roads and they're like, nuh-uh, that's the best fame farm. And I'm going to get to that. I'm going to explain why all of these are in F tier, starting with solo dungeons. Solo dungeons wouldn't be in F tier if they had more spawns. However, because of the Mists update, a lot of the solo random dungeon spawns are replaced by Mist Wisps. So it's much harder to find a dungeon, and there's a bandit event, apparently. Thank you for interrupting my video. Anyway, so solo dungeons don't give as much fame as Corrupted Dungeons unless you're in full 8.4 with, like, a build that is directly meant for speedrunning solo dungeons, such as Spectre Jacket, Light Crossbow, stuff like that. You could also use Bolt Casters if you don't have maximum spec. But other than that, everyone else will make less fame than a Corrupted Dungeon. So it's pretty much non-viable unless you are a crossbow player. But also with that said, the loot is so much far worse. And yes, while you can farm the faction points you gain from solo dungeons are so small and so tiny and insignificant. And even if you're doing Black Zone dungeons, okay? Black Zone dungeons fame is awful. Again, I showed you that video early on in this video on the screen that proves why the Black Zone dungeons suck. Go watch that video and you can see all the numbers and the metrics. You would have to kill thousands and thousands and thousands of mobs to get enough favor or might or whatever it is to buy those chests. So the Yellow Zone is still superior in that regard. So let's talk about Arena. Arena is, you know, you just you open the menu here, you click Arena, and you can join a quick Crystal Arena or regular Arena and get some prizes, get some fame tomes. The reason why this is terrible is because even if you are pushing a 75% win rate, the time it takes to complete these arenas are not worth the fame tomes that you receive from completing them. Even if you were to sell the rewards and then just buy more tomes of insight with them, it's still not as much as everything else listed so far. As a matter of fact, Arena really should be listed at the end as the bottomest of bottom, but it's whatever, you know. So the next up is Gathering, to sell whatever you gathered to buy fame tomes. Okay, like, maybe if you're some sort of tier, you know, if you have a guild and you have a hideout, this might be better. Might, possibly. If you know, you're big pimping and you're taking out lots of players, you know, with your Life Curse staff build, and you're just making 30 million, you know, in you know, over the course of what, a week or two. By the way, for anyone that doesn't know, if you ever want to see how long it takes for YouTubers to make a video, most of them have premium, and if you look up here at this little crown, it'll have a number of how many days of premium they have remaining. So when you see someone's video where they're farming tons and tons of silver, and then this number is jumping from like 20 to 12 to 8 to 4 to 2, that is how many days it took them to film that one little video, by the way. Which, they're entertaining and fun videos, don't get me wrong, they're very interesting. And I love the playstyle, but it is kind of weird to see one video take so long to make. Where I just make a video in 8 minutes. I just sit down and do it in 1 or 2 takes. But regardless about that, uh, just I don't know because I don't do the tier 8 gathering. But if you're making 30 million silver an hour, I guess then yeah, it might be better. But Yellow Zone gathering 1.2 to 1.7 million per hour, buying fame tomes is less than a million fame per hour, so it's not worth doing. Mists are another one that a lot of people, like a lot of Redditors, will tell new players, yeah, go to the Mists. It's great. It's super fun. It may be fun, but it is not efficient at all. So Yellow Zone Mists, even if you were to speed run the encampments and the objectives and rescue the wisps, it is not worth doing at all. Whereas the, Black Zone Mists, the lethal mists, yes, if you have high spec and you can rescue wisps and get lucky with it, you might be able to make good fame. However, when I have tried this with my builds, and I consider myself a master of the mists, believe it or not, I consider myself highly successful in the mists. Even like on a good days, I can maybe rescue like 4 or 5 wisps in a very long period of time, like a very long play session. I don't get to rescue that many because there are often 8.4 players that, well, you're not killing the 8.4 players, you're not killing the 8.3 players unless you all band together. I'm muted, so I can't really rally people through chat, but it's whatever. And then finally, Ava Roads. Like, okay, let's talk about Black Zone Mist some more first. Even if you do the mission objectives and you clear the camps and you don't get ganked by, 8.4 Chads, by the way, an 8.3 and 8.4 player in the Mists is referred to as a Chad. This has always been the vernacular. I don't know why people have started calling it Kings. Did I switch to a different dimension again? What color is Pikachu's tail? Is it Berenstein or Berenstein bears? It's always been referred to as a Chad. And no, I didn't make that up. I know that I'm a Chad's Alliance, whatever. But the point is that a highly geared player in the Mists has always been called a Chad. So, there you go. Anyway. So, Ava Roads listed absolutely dead last. So, let's talk about Ava Roads. Yes, if you go in with a druidic, staff or some sort of self-healing staff, and you solo the Ava Road bosses, yes, they give you a huge chunk of fame when you kill them. Absolutely. The time to find these is quite a while. The fact that you're only going to use garbage gear to farm them is, it's going to take a while to kill them. Even on the test room with 8.3 gear, these things do take a little while to kill. I don't think you could push the numbers much higher with full 8.3 if you're willing to risk that, which no one is, let's be real. Regardless, though, even if you are successfully finding Ava Road bosses and popping them, you are not making as much fame as the A's and the S rank and the triple S ranks. The tiers, rather, on this list. So, it can't be in C tier. It's too risky. It's too slow. It's also hard. If you're playing on a phone, you can forget it. It's just too like, even I have difficulty killing those things. They can't, like, if you make a few mistakes, you're down. If one player rolls up on you while you're doing it, you're dead. It's not fun. It's very cumbersome. And yes, like I said, it's a big explosion of fame when you do kill them. But you can just go farm a static dungeon way faster and earn way, way, way more. Like, I earned that in two pulls in a static dungeon. It takes me a minute to do. It takes me, like, not even 1 minute to do. So there's really no reason to ever do the Ava Roads as a solo, and the fact that Ava Roads are plagued with speed hackers, they're plagued with ESP radar hackers, they're plagued with people that use a Discord add-on called Portaler, and there's a few other ones too that have it completely mapped out. So that's what's in the Mists. The roads. Okay, and then, God help you if you run into a roads where there's hideouts. That's even worse. But regardless, guys, that's my tier list for fame farming. I wish I could have more stuff in each tier, but there's really not a lot of ways to fame farm in this game, other than what I've listed. There's statics, there's group dungeons. Group dungeons, there is something going on with group dungeons, but I want to talk about that with my members. So, yes, I have discovered something with group dungeons that I feel is worth sharing to a private audience. If you are interested in this, I don't know when it's coming out, because I'm going to be playing some other games here, and I do need to do further testing, because I don't have concrete data yet. But right down where my cursor is bouncing, there is a join button. It allows you to become a channel member. It's $5 a month. It's just like on Twitch. When you subscribe on Twitch, you pay the streamer $5. It's like that on YouTube, but you get access to private, more personal videos, guides that are too good for the public, tricks, tips, flipping techniques, silver making methods, all that kind of stuff. That it's for members only. There's a bunch of videos on there, so you can become a channel member and check out those videos. And I will in the future be making a group dungeon specific one for fame farming, because it is not quite as good as the static dungeons. I'll admit that right now, it's not. But if you are struggling to have money for to feed your satchel and your auto respec, it's the next best thing, and it's not that bad. It's over 10 million fame per hour. So far I've been able to hit about 14, 16, and 17 on a few days, but I got real lucky with mob spawns, and again, like, there's a whole spiel that I have to go through on how to find them and how to get them, and it doesn't involve maps or anything like that, but again, this is for members only. With that said, I appreciate you watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what else you want to see. Tier list videos tend to perform very terribly on YouTube, so I know there's a few of you out there that like the tier list videos, so there you go, you got one. With that said, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and if you would, on the right side of your screen is a video you should absolutely click. There's also a video you should click in the pinned comment, so check out those videos, and I'll see you next time. Take care, lads.